name is Caroline Gumba, and I'm the Program Manager for IDH Textile and Manufacturing in Kenya. So IDH is a Dutch sustainable trade initiative that seeks to catalyze positive transformation of markets by bringing together committed stakeholders from the global market to create better jobs, better incomes, better environment, and gender equality for all. We work across 12 different industrial sectors in 40 countries across the globe, and our work is basically looking at transforming people, planets, and positive trade. Sustainability in the textile and apparel industry is driven by different factors: environmental concerns, social responsibility, growing and changing consumer demands, technology and innovation, and other factors that are affecting how textile and apparel is produced and consumed. So there are very many factors influencing the global market. First of all, sustainability is a growing concern, and global brands are increasingly embedding sustainability practices and requirements within their supply chains. Now, there are other factors that are driving these brands to do that. One is how consumers approach towards environmental and social concerns and how they consume goods. There's a demand for more personalized, more eco-friendly products, and there's also a lot of scrutiny on how brands treat the environment and how they treat their workers. So that is driving brands to be a bit more transparent, to respond to consumer demands. There's also rising population. The world's population is growing to about 9.7 billion by 2050, and that's going to mean increased consumption of textile and apparel goods. While that population is rising, there's also rising incomes, especially in developing nations like in Asia and Africa. So populations and having much more disposable income to spend on apparel and accessories, and so that's increasing the consumption of apparel goods and textile goods. And so that comes also with increased effects of what the textile and apparel sector has as negative impacts on the environment and the society. We have seen an increase in production of textile and apparel matched by an increase in consumption. The global textile and apparel sector is still heavily inundated with negative impacts of this increased production and consumption. The sector is faced with increased cost of production. It's also faced with increased scrutiny and challenges in its effects to the environment and the society. So these global trends are affecting how purchasing is done, how sourcing is done, and the ability for countries and supply chains to be competitive as they try to catalyze on the ability of the sector to transform their countries. So the IDH In-Step program is a collaborative approach working with multiple stakeholders towards reducing the environmental impacts and improving working conditions in textile and apparel production. In Kenya, the program is working similarly with other players, such as the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, Generation Program Kenya. We're also working with several ministries, departments, and agencies to achieve the same ambitions of better jobs and better environment in Kenya. Our Better Environment pillar is looking at energy, water, and chemical management support, and our Better Jobs pillar looks at worker management engagement, occupational health and safety, and women's career advancement and empowerment. We do have a Sustainability for Competitiveness project with the Kenya Association of Manufacturers that has 3 particular objectives. One is improved sector governance and coordination. We're looking at improved business practices in both environmental and social management. And we're also looking at women's career enhancement in leadership and technical skills. The project, dubbed Sustainability for Competitiveness, is because we believe that sustainability is a key driver of competitiveness, and they go hand in hand, especially for this sector that is heavily looking at increased regulation. If you just look at a lot of the regulation that's coming from the global north, you will see that there's a lot of emerging regulation that is sustainability related that's going to affect the textile and apparel sector. While this regulation mostly emerges from the EU, US, and the UK, it still affects supply chains globally beyond the jurisdictions where the laws are created. So that has an impact on how Kenya becomes competitive, because compliance to regulation trickles down to the supplier, down to the person supplying the fabric, down to the person cutting the fabric, sewing the garments, supplying the buttons, rivets, and all that. So entire value chain is affected. The Sustainability for Competitiveness project, which is implemented by IDH and CAM, is underpinned by Textile Enterprise Sustainability and Competitiveness platform. This platform brings together over 20 ministries, departments, and agencies, the private sector, and development actors to assess the status of sustainability and competitiveness of the sector in Kenya, identify and prioritize challenges and opportunities, and create roadmaps, synergize resources, capabilities, and interventions towards creating a more sustainable and a more competitiveness sector. So one of the things that the INSTEP program really envisions that our work is going to impact is the ability for sourcing destinations to become more attractive. That means Kenya becomes a much more attractive sourcing destination because it's of low risk when it comes to compliance to environmental and social obligations, become more attractive for investments, for investors and brands looking to do business in Kenya, and also creates opportunities for much needed jobs for the youthful population in Africa.